How did you deal with your parents not liking your partner? My parents have always been judgmental of me and everything I have done. Nothing I did was ever enough for them. If I got a good grade, they wanted it to be better. If I dressed a certain way, they would pick it apart and tell me why it was wrong. If I made a decision about my life, they always had something negative to say about it. I grew up feeling like I was constantly under a microscope, never quite measuring up to their impossible standards. My mother was especially relentless. She had a way of making me feel small without even raising her voice. It was always in the little comments, the exaggerated sighs, the way she would glance at me like I had somehow disappointed her just by existing. My father was not as vocal, but he had a sharp, judging silence that somehow cut just as deep. No matter how hard I tried, they always found something to criticize. When I met Anthony, I knew right away they would not approve, not because there was anything wrong with him, but because they had always found something wrong with everyone and everything in my life. They met him once and decided they did not like him. My mother looked him up and down like she was inspecting something at a thrift store. My father shook his hand too firmly, as if he was trying to prove a point. From that moment on, they made little digs at him every time we visited. My mother commented on his job as a mechanic, asking if he had ever considered doing something more stable. My father asked him over and over if he had a plan for the future, as if fixing cars was not a real profession. Anthony never let it get to him. He would just smile, answer politely, and move on. I knew it bothered him, but he never let them see it. When Anthony and I got engaged, my parents barely reacted. My mother asked if I was absolutely sure, as if I was making some kind of tragic mistake. My father just nodded stiffly and told Anthony to take care of me. But it sounded more like a warning than a blessing. After we got married, things did not improve. Every visit felt like an obligation rather than something I actually wanted to do. The comments and judgment never stopped, but I had gotten so used to it that I hardly reacted anymore. I had spent my whole life being picked apart, and after years of it, I barely felt it anymore. Then one night, everything changed. We were at my parents' house for dinner, sitting around their dining table while my mother picked apart every single thing about me. She said I looked tired. She said my cooking skills were probably lacking now that I was married because I had always been lazy in the kitchen. She made an offhand remark about how I had gained a little weight since the wedding, saying it in that sickly sweet voice that barely hid the insult beneath it. My father joined in too. He did not say much, but the way he sighed every time I spoke made it clear that he thought I was doing something wrong just by existing. I sat there, holding back tears, feeling myself getting smaller and smaller with every word they threw at me. Anthony had been quiet the whole evening, letting them say whatever they wanted about him just like he always did. But when he saw me start to break, he finally reached his limit. He put his fork down, and the sound of it hitting the plate made everyone stop talking. He pushed his chair back and stood up so fast that it caught me off guard. His voice was calm but firm. "That's enough," he said. My parents looked at him in shock. No one had ever talked back to them like that before. "You can say whatever you want about me," he continued, "but you don't get to talk to my wife like that. You don't get to make her feel small in her own family. You have spent her entire life picking her apart, making her feel like she is never good enough, and I'm done watching it happen. You don't deserve a daughter like her. You should be grateful to have her in your life. But instead, all you do is tear her down. We are done with this." The room was silent. My mother looked stunned. My father's face went blank, as if he had never even considered the possibility of being confronted. Anthony turned to me and reached for my hand. "We're leaving," he said. I felt frozen for a second, like I could not move. But when I looked at my parents, I realized something. They were not going to change. They were always going to be like this, and I did not have to keep putting myself through it. I took Anthony's hand and stood up with him. Neither of my parents said a word as we walked out the door. When we got into the car, Anthony squeezed my hand and looked at me. "You don't have to take their poop anymore," he said. For the first time in my life, I actually believed it.